Here's how I spent 4 days in Banff, Canada. Now if you're watching this video, I can guess that you're probably doing some research for a trip to Banff, or you're planning on a trip to Banff, or you're thinking whether you should go to Banff with your friends, your family, or with your spouse. And I can tell you upfront that Banff is absolutely worth it. It is stunning, it is an amazing place to visit, it has amazing alpine sceneries, a lot of places for you to hike and take amazing photos, and it's incredibly rewarding if you enjoy outdoor adventure. But if you are looking for a lower budget getaway, I think you may be disappointed because it can be a bit expensive if you weigh all the different costs together. But I do think it is still worth it because it has many iconic locations and it has world-class scenery. Like literally, you can just turn any corner and the photos taken is absolutely beautiful. And so I'll be going through the itinerary for Banff, what we did, the places that we saw, and at the end of the video, I'll go through roughly how we got around, what are the places that we stayed at, the food that we ate, and roughly the cost and what you can expect going to Banff. And so if you enjoy this content or you want more of this content, do leave a like, comment and subscribe to the channel, and let me know if you have any questions for Banff, and if you too have visited Banff, what was your favourite part of Banff? And without further ado, let's get to Banff. First, there are several different ways to get to Banff. Of course, a very popular route is to fly straight to Calgary Airport and then do a short drive towards Banff. The alternative would be to take the train, which is like a more luxury multi-day sightseeing experience. I think it's about 2 days, and for us, me and my friends decided to do a long drive, which is about 10 to 12 hours from Vancouver straight to Banff. I know this sounds kind of intimidating, but along the way, there's a lot of amazing viewpoints and amazing sights that you can stop to see. This is also a good chance for you to rest and also to stretch your legs and then change drivers probably. First stop is the Kamloops Lake Viewpoint. It is about 4 hours out of Vancouver, but it gives an amazing view over Kamloops Lake. Is it worth it? Well, in the circumstances, yes, only because you do need to make a stop anyway. Personally, if I were to do a drive around, I wouldn't detour for this, but it is kind of a nice break along the long drive, and it's a good start to preparing yourself for the amazing views ahead. Next, a couple hours later, you would reach the next stop, which is Rogers Pass. I think when we went there this time, it wasn't open. In fact, I think it was closed, and so we just used the toilets and moved along. But honestly speaking, the views were also pretty good because you were literally in the middle of the mountains, and so it's nice to just take a break and take a short walk to stretch your legs before getting back to Banff. Now, let's get to Banff proper. So once you reach Banff, one of the first stops that you should definitely do is the Banff Gondola. And it's a cable car that brings you all the way up Sulphur Mountain, and at the top of the mountain you get a 360 view over the entire Bow Valley, Banff townsite and all the surrounding peaks. Is it worth it? Honestly, yes. It is incredibly beautiful and stunning, and it's probably the one stop on this trip that I think you definitely should not miss. In addition, you get views all around the mountain. It's not just one direction or one area. You get to walk all over the place. They have actually built a path into a separate area which allows you to see even more and climb through the top of the mountains, and it's really just a unique experience all around. One thing to note is you should bring a jacket because it's noticeably colder at the summit, much colder than at the bottom of the mountain. Next, we headed to the Cave and Basin Natural Historic Site. Now, this was something that we honestly thought was much bigger. When we actually reached there, we didn't realize that it was actually part of a kind of a museum or a gallery of sorts, which actually covers the birthplace of Banff National Park, and then a hot spring that was discovered by the railway workers that led to the whole park being established. And the actual cave that we are talking about here, it's actually a small cave. And so if you are really interested and if you have time, I think it is worth it to make a short trip here. However, visually, I must say it is a bit underwhelming. And so if you are chasing to have better views, you should skip this. Next is the Cascade of Time Garden. Now, I want to be upfront, this is not really a popular attraction, But in my view, it's quite underrated because it's a very nice garden with a beautiful building, and the views of the place all around is actually very nice. And so walking around, you actually get to see a lot of different viewpoints, and you can take a lot of nice photos all around. And when we went there, it was actually surprisingly crowded. We actually had to queue a bit for one of the best viewpoints, which kind of gave you a shot of the entire mountain with the roads leading up to the mountains. And another place that you definitely don't want to miss out on is the Mount Norquay lookout. Now, it's an absolutely beautiful viewpoint that is about 10 to 15 minutes away from downtown Banff. And it's less crowded, that's for sure, and it gives amazing views of the entire region of Banff. You get, unobstructed views of the Bow Valley, the lakes, and the entire town itself. You can just chill on the slopes and relax and just take in and soak in the sights that you see, because this is really beautiful. So in the morning, we headed to Johnston Canyon, which is kind of like a very long trail that boats straight into a canyon. And as you continue to go, you are climbing in elevation, and along the point, there's like 2 to 3 different waterfalls that kind of mark the checkpoints that you're reaching. And as you reach the top, you get to the ink pots, which has a view that some say beats Lake Louise itself. However, in my opinion, this hiking trail was a bit longer than expected. I think we didn't expect it to be so long, and so we kind of gave up halfway after the upper falls because we were also a bit short on time, and I'll explain why later. But by climbing to the upper falls, I think you have at least seen 2 of the waterfalls, which in my view are already beautiful. The entire walk was also through nature, and so you're not only getting views of the forest and the hills, but also of the river with the waterfalls as well. Do note that at the waterfalls, it's very easy to get wet because the water pressure is very strong, so the water is splattering all around. And so if you're carrying heavy or sensitive camera equipment, do take note and kind of avoid or prepare yourself for it. And next, we headed down to Lake Louise. Now, the reason I mentioned that we had to rush to Lake Louise is not because Lake Louise has an opening or closing time, but because Lake Louise is such a popular destination that the parking at the lake itself, or the area around the lake, fills up extremely quickly and early in the day. And so we preempted that, and instead of driving there to park, we actually parked at one of the park and ride areas, which is kind of like a place where you can park your car and then you pay a small fee to board a shuttle bus that brings you to Lake Louise, and then you get it's a round trip, and so you just need to make it for the return ride back and you get back to your car. And so if you're going in peak season, which is in the summer season, you must plan for this, because honestly, we did drive around and I think we were lost, and we actually ended up at Lake Louise, and the parking area was so full that they actually had people blocking off the roads, so you couldn't even park there at all. As for the lake itself, honestly speaking, it is extremely beautiful. I can see why it is one of the most photographed lakes in Canada. And honestly, it would have been even more beautiful if the clouds were clear, but unfortunately for us, it was a bit cloudy that day, and it actually eventually rained. But I think just this itself made the whole trip worth it. When you head down to Lake Louise, do also try to take a walk or hike around the lake, because I think every angle of the lake is beautiful. You can also head to some of the classic photo spots. We actually hiked up one of the trails to one of the viewpoints that is elevated, but I must warn that it is a very difficult climb for 2 reasons. One is that it is actually longer than we expected and it's a bit steeper than expected, and also for some reason the trail was covered partially with ice, which made climbing extremely difficult as well. And actually, unfortunately for us, when we reached the top at the viewpoint, it was raining very heavily, such that I couldn't even get my camera out. But other than that, I still do think it's worth a trip to Lake Louise, and if possible, you should definitely try to go earlier and spend more time there, because I think just sitting by the lake is such a calming and enjoyable experience in itself. One thing that we missed is actually Lake Moraine. Now, usually Lake Moraine comes together with Lake Louise in the sense that the park and ride actually brings you to both Lake Louise and Lake Moraine. However, the path to Lake Moraine is actually closed throughout winter and into the spring. And because we were there near the end of spring, it actually wasn't open, and so we couldn't drive there, and the park and ride didn't go there, and so we missed it. But this was something that we expected from the start, and so it wasn't really that upsetting. But if you are traveling to Banff in any other season of the year, during maybe summer or autumn, this is something that you definitely want to check out, and do take into consideration the timings and the shuttle reservations that you're going to have to make to head down to Lake Moraine as well. And of course, before we headed back to Vancouver, we did some shopping around Banff, and honestly I think this is something that you may not expect, but Banff, being a small township, actually has an incredible concentration of a lot of different shops. And so there were shops like Patagonia, North Face, Arc'teryx, Lululemon, all these brands, and some of them sell Banff specific merchandise like shirts or pants or jackets. And so if you're looking to pick up some souvenirs from Banff, it might be a good idea to check out some of these shops and pick up like a nice Banff shirt, rather than, you know, the typical fridge magnets, that sort of stuff. The Banff township itself is also quite nice to have a stroll along. It's a very nice and beautiful town. I would say it's on par with towns that I've seen in Switzerland, you know, with the mountains and the views all around surrounding you. I think it's a very nice place to take a holiday and to relax and just escape from all the busyness and troubles of your life. The food in Banff was also good. One of the places that I really enjoyed eating was at Bear Street Tavern. The pizzas here were amazing. They were unique. And I think it's something that you should definitely try when you're in Banff. The other restaurant that we tried here and were quite impressed was the Grizzly house. And we went here because they were famous for fondue. They also have a menu where you get to cook your meat on a hot slab of stone, which was an interesting and unique experience, honestly, and we really enjoyed ourselves there. It really felt like a very unique experience, you know, being in such a beautiful town, but in this place you're able to cook your own food and enjoy the meats. Other than that, I think for your other meals, you can consider searching for bakeries all around Banff. There's a lot of bakeries, all that are very well reviewed, and honestly, they all do not disappoint at all. As for places to stay, we stayed at the Otter Hotel, which in my opinion was a very good hotel given the price and also the standard of the rooms that we received. I do think it is slightly cheaper and not as popular as other hotels because it is not in the main area of Banff, in a sense that it's slightly further out of Banff Avenue. In fact, when we were driving there, we actually had to skip the first exit which brought you to Banff and head down the next exit, which was then nearer to Otter Hotel itself. However, I do feel like the rooms here were very spacious, they were very nice, and there was a hot tub area outside for people to relax and chill in front of the mountainous view. And so if you're looking for accommodations, do consider giving this place a shot. If you're not driving, I do think that it can be a bit inconvenient to stay at the Otter Hotel because you either have to walk very far to get to the town, or you have to take a bus which comes about every 20 to 30 minutes. As for budgeting and costing, I would think it's safe to budget about 30 to 40 Canadian dollars per meal. As for transport, as mentioned, we drove all the way here to Banff, and so we were driving all around the area, and so transport wasn't really an issue for us. However, Otter Hotel did provide us with bus passes, and so these bus passes will allow us to take the bus for free. And as I mentioned, the buses come about every 20 to 30 minutes. And so if you're planning to get around Banff without a vehicle, that's probably your only option. And so we have come to the end of the video. I hope what I've shared helps you to understand more about Banff and gives you a better idea of what to expect when you're in Banff. And if you're stuck to the end of the video, I'll be grateful if you could leave a like, comment and subscribe to the channel to let me know that this content has helped you, and comment down below if you have any questions or comments about my trip, and I'll be happy to respond to you and help you as much as I can. And so once again, thanks for sticking around and see you in the next one.